So, hey, as promised, we've got Scott Kerman from the Grandstanders. And today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the Olympics once every 2 years, once every 4 years, usually even years, this year, odd year. Scott, welcome to the show.
Oh, Tommy, thanks for having me.
Scott, before we talk about the Olympics, I want to talk about the Grandstanders. Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. right here on Brookline Interactive. You've been doing the show for a long time. Tell folks about your show and entice them.
Yeah, it'll be 7 years in November, Tommy. So it's a great show. We talk sports, Boston sports, for a half an hour. I have my guys that you spoke to on your normal day concerning sports. I have my mailman, Uncle Joe McLaughlin. I have my barber, Hollywood Pete McGilvery. And I have season tickets for the Red Sox, Tommy, for the last 20 years. And it was the pleasure of meeting these guys. The first year, the Professor Russ Stevens and JP's first son, Tim Hoey, they're season ticket holders too of the Red Sox. We all got together, started a show. And of course, we had to call it the Grandstanders. That's where we sit in the grandstand. We actually sit for many years in Section 8, Tommy, which we called the Affordable Housing Program of the Boston Red Sox. So it's a great show. We've had many great guests on. One of our favorite guests every year, Tommy, we have Governor Michael Dukakis on. In fact, we'll have him on again live, first show back in the studio September 8th.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll talk with you after the show and get his phone number. I want to have him as a guest on my show. We haven't figured out how to make that happen yet, but I feel like, I serve in the legislature in the seat he used to sit in. So, there's a connection there, and maybe we'll get him.
To have him on. And of course, Kitty Dukakis, his lovely wife, is just one of the best. And so
she's wonderful. We sit with each other once a year at a Chinese restaurant at the Brookline Democratic Town Committee event. We always sit at the same table, and really enjoy each other's company. You also tell us a little bit about Dirty Water TV. You've got some other stuff going on.
Dirty Water TV, yeah, we've been on for Dirty Water TV for 2 years, and of course it got stopped because of COVID. In fact, the Greatest Bar, where we do it live every Friday night at 9 o'clock, and that goes over Dirty Water TV. We did it for 2 years, got a great reaction, huge audience. We were doing about between 15 to 20,000 views per week. So hopefully we'll be back doing that every week on Friday nights starting in September. So lots of fun stuff going on. I'm hoping, of course, to at some point bring it to another level and get onto one of the local TV networks.
Well, 15 to 20 viewers a week, that's competitive with my show.
15 to 20,000, Tom.
Oh, excuse me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we play for keeps, pal. Absolutely.
Well, listen, let's talk about the Olympics. They've just really kicked off in Japan, and a year late and a yen short, as it were.
Tommy, do you think they should have even done the Olympics? Should have the Olympics have happened at this moment in time in Japan, where they're back inside?
Yeah, well, that's right, and they have no crowds, right. And so the world has been experimenting with this over the last couple of years, and of course, it's really difficult to predict months or a year or some time out what COVID is going to be like at that particular time, right? And so, for a lot of people, not just for the athletes, but for just some folks like you and me, the Olympics bring a lot of optimism to people, and they get into it, they groove on it. And so, maybe it's important for the psyche and morale of folks around the world. I think that's a reasonable argument. What do you think?
Absolutely. Look, it's funny. Every time the Olympics happens, I always say, I'm not going to watch that much this time. And then I end up watching hours of it. You really get captivated of it. And of course, in Boston, we're such a huge sports town, but people do get into the Olympics. People do watch it. Absolutely. It brings people together. It's entertaining. But some of the stuff, obviously, when all of a sudden I had to check, what's ROC, Tommy? It's like, oh, that's the Russians, because they are all on performance enhancing drugs. So they've been banned from the Olympics. So we now call them ROC, the Russian Olympic athletes. So it's
That's
stuff
right.
like that that kind of takes you away from it, and you realize, okay, what game are we playing here?
Yeah, right. There's obviously this tremendous nationalism. And for some folks, that's really important, right? Clearly, right in the 80s, the nationalism was huge for Cold War stuff. Now, maybe it means less than it used to. It gets complicated, right?
Yeah, the U.S. hockey team in 1980, obviously, America's needed that. They needed that positivity and being proud about the country, and that team brought that.
Yeah, and then like Mark Lewis and Jackie Joyner Kersey, right? This like, perfect athletic specimen that America produced, bringing all those gold medals. And now maybe it's a little different, right? And there's look, they're playing without crowds. The TV is showing like the family of the athletes from like a Ring camera planted inside their living room, right? You see the insides of everybody's living rooms now.
But people are tired of that. We did that. People do want to move on, to an extent. But there are certain sports, Tommy, that actually translated okay with no crowds. Like basketball and hockey actually did pretty well with that. And then all of a sudden, the flip side, football and baseball did not.
Right. Well, and baseball's back, right? So sports sort of have come and gone. Let's talk about some of the sports that have come and gone. What do we got? So we've got baseball is back after being out for two iterations. Baseball and softball are back. What else we got? Karate, right?
Fun, absolutely, right? We all act like when we were young, we walked down the street and said, "Don't screw with me. I know karate."
Right.
So
And then I think, an exciting one is skateboarding. It was kind of inevitable, right? The Winter Olympics really embraced snowboarding for years and was very popular.
Both snowboarding and skateboarding, so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll watch that, no question.
And it expands what we think of as an athlete, right? So you've got like the swimmers, right? Or like the 6'4" chiseled, like Greco-Roman kind of warriors. And you got like the gymnasts, right? Who are really flexible and have unbelievable body control. And now you got the skateboarders who are not really either of those. There's something else, right? So it sort of expands.
Oh, they're in incredible shape, and the things they're able to do is just incredible. I mean, would you consider race car driving, auto racing? Is that a sport?
Yeah, if we get into is that a sport game, I'm going to say no to a lot.
Okay.
So, I don't want to get into
Skateboarding,
that.
absolutely a sport.
No question, they're athletic, right? So checks that box, and you can argue they're not all in great physical shape, but the ability to sort of have that reflex and twitch, motor skill is real, and there's certainly strategy, and you got to adjust to conditions, right? Yeah. So that feels a lot like sports,
and it's entertaining. It's fun to watch. I mean, that's what the bottom line is. That's what we're doing. That's why we enjoy sports, is for the entertainment level.
So other new sports, right? We've got sport climbing, right? So that's like the indoor rock climbing with the little hole.
That's stupid. No, that's stupid. No, that's for Sundays. No.
Not even like the speed racing where they're like spiders.
No. If you have the whole event, you have your back to me. That's not an event.
I mean, that's like a lot of swimming events, right? I mean,
yeah,
unless you use the underwater camera.
Swimming's a sport. I mean, it's not an entertaining sport. Right? I'm just waiting to see who has the longest fingers, and that's when the ones that tend to win.
Right. Maybe. Have you seen anything about the surfing?
The what
competitions?
What was that?
So surfing is now in. Surfing.
Right. Surfing is, fun sport, absolutely. But how do they depend on the waves? I mean, are they producing the waves?
No, they're in the ocean, right? I mean, it's like.
So what happens if there's no waves there for the next week?
And what happens if the Summer Olympics are in Kansas City? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think is that a true sport, or are they just trying that out?
Well, it's the Olympic debut.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, I
We'll
don't know.
see. And then of course
That's really
baseball and softball are back. But the fact is, baseball is not played much around the world, right? So
I'm going to give you a fun fact. I actually tried out. I played for American University in Washington, D.C. Baseball, and I actually tried out in 1984 for the Olympic team.
Tried out for whom?
For the Olympic team.
Oh yeah.
In baseball, I got cut the first day, but I remember taking one of the bats to go home with, so because I wanted one freaking souvenir out of it. But that's when it all started. It became a kind of an exhibition sport. They were trying to, guys like Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro made the team. They were on that team that year. But that's when baseball started to break through in the Olympics. So it's been a while, Tommy. It's we're talking about what over 30 years.
Yeah, and I was surprised to see only 6 teams. Just thinking about the number of Central American ball players in Major League Baseball, right? And so I would have guessed more than 6. Just out
But
of
actually,
Central.
they're taking it from the minor leagues. Like the Red Sox have some representatives, and Tristan Casas and a few guys who are playing for the United States team. But they're just rating the minor leagues, and these are the guys who are playing on these teams.
Now, here's what I was shocked to learn about. Have you heard of 3x3?
No.
So you got men's basketball and women's basketball, right?
Yeah.
You get Olympic gold medal for men, Olympic gold medal for women. The women, I think, they're doing well. The men, not yet. Maybe they'll turn it around.
I don't know what's up.
But there's also 2 other events. There's men's and women's 3-on-3 half-court basketball.
Oh, that's
3x3.
Oh, for God's sake! What, shirts and skins?
No, but it's like 1 point and 2 point, losers outs, right?
If they're doing shirts and skins for the female players, all right, I'm in.
Take it easy now. Come on now.
Why not?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was thinking, I was like, in basketball prior to this Olympics, right? You got all these athletes, and you can win a total of two medals, right? One for the men, one for the women. But there's like badminton, where there's like 14 medals. It's one sport, but you get more medals. So if you're like the National Olympic Committee and you're strategizing like, how do we up our medal count, right? You got to go find these sports that are relatively obscure with a bunch of medals, and that's how you can kind of shoot up the standings, right?
Badminton, yeah, that's what, like the national sport in Thailand or something.
Yeah, there's some Southeast Asian countries. Have you ever watched it? I mean, it's like lightning fast and then really slow. Lightning fast, really slow.
I love badminton. Like, not that level though. Those guys are great athletes.
For sure. What's going on with the men's basketball team? Are they going to turn this around?
I don't know. As a Celtic, talking about Jason Tatum, I'm just hoping that like every team Jason Tatum is on doesn't end up being worse for the wearer. I don't know. Look, they did very poorly in the exhibition play. They already lost 1 game. Yeah, I just don't think it's a nice match. Look at these guys play long seasons and stuff. It's tough they should just go back to the college players.
Yeah, I mean, the other thought of it is, first of all, like we're always going to compare everything to the dream team, which is, the most absurd comparison ever, right?
I don't do that. No, remember they used to, when we were growing up, they had the college players play. And, in the
for sure. I wonder if it's look, you watch the All-Star game and it's, it's one-on-one, sort of 5 sets of one-on-one on the court. But basketball is a team sport, and if they're not really training as a team, right, it's sort of unreasonable to expect them to be at their best.
Yeah, like you said, it's an all-star game, all-star team. They, the best some of the best collection of players, and you hope that the skill level is so high compared to the other teams across the world that you win. And sometimes you don't. You just can't roll the basketball out there and expect these players to play well. Look, lots of the draft will be, the NBA draft will be international players. the international players are getting better and better. We can't just always assume that we're just going to always win. This is going to be a wake-up call because they're not going to win the gold medal. You watch.
Well, I hope you're wrong, but we'll see.
Yes.
You know who else is not going to win a gold medal is Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah,
Right?
that was look, she knew that. Look, great. I would love to see her perform. Obviously, fantastic runner stuff. She knew the rules. She broke them. I don't know what to tell you. We can't just keep on making rules for everybody. Different rules. This is the set of rules. Don't smoke dope during this period of time. You did. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? What do you think? You think she should be running?
I mean, look, I 100% agree with you. We can argue about whether or not that should be a rule, right?
Right. I'm not going to argue.
Should those chemicals be on the blacklist, be on the list of things you're not allowed to do?
Right.
That's a fair argument, right? Maybe they shouldn't be, right?
Yeah,
I don't know of anybody who's ever like smoked dope and really increased their performance. That's not my experience.
Running too. Yeah, I know.
Right. So on the other hand, though, this is not a rec league. This is the highest level of competition. And in every sport, they're monitoring for all sorts of different performance enhancing drugs and chemicals. And the regimen of Olympic athletes includes being really careful about everything you put in your body, either food, medicine, anything else, because they know they've got to pass those tests. And it's a tragic situation, right? She suffered terrible personal loss.
Tragic. I hate to use those words. That's not tragic. Look,
it stems from the death of a family member, right? I mean, that's the backstory. Is she was grieving the loss of a family member, so that part is tragic. But
yeah, right. I mean, the people have personal tragedies every day. I mean, that really has nothing to do with it's her job. She knew what the rules were. She didn't follow them. We don't have time to just create a safety net for everybody here. You have to have rules. Just follow them, and we're not having this conversation.
Yeah, and the thing about sports is, right, it is precisely the rules and adherence to the rules that make sports possible, right? Like fundamentally, every single sport is, here's a set of rules. There is a person or people in charge of making sure everybody follows the rules, and there are minor or major consequences if you don't follow the rules. And that's how sports work, right? That's how every sport works.
Look, I love the Red Sox as much as anyone. I'm really enjoying this season. The manager of the Red Sox, Alex Cora, is an ultimate scumbag. He's a scumbag. Great manager, but he's a scumbag. He is. He should have been suspended far more than 60 games for what he did. You could argue that scandal was greater than any scandal in the history of baseball, including the Black Sox scandal. Okay? So he broke the rules. I love the Red Sox, but does that make Alex Cora any less of a scumbag? No. He didn't follow the rules. So there you go. If the Red Sox had not followed our rules, if they had found that they had cheated to some level and they took that 2018 crown, so be it. So
and for the viewers who don't know the story, right, Alex Cora was clearly implicated in a cheating scandal where breaking the rules for competitive advantage, which is, I just want to, point out that is fundamentally different than Sha'Carri Richardson, who broke the rules, but not in a deliberate attempt to get an underhanded advantage, right? So you're not calling Sha'Carri Richardson a scumbag by comparison. I know you're not doing that. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Despite how you feel for these particular athletes, they broke the rules. So yeah, right. And in this particular case, the Boston Red Sox manager doing great doesn't preclude him from criticism and from any kind of discipline action. Okay, we have to have rules. We're rules of law, and we're fighting with that in the political world about the rules of law. I got no problem. She'll clean herself up, make sure she does the right things next time, and then she can compete again.
So there was a moment in time when it could have been that Tokyo was the warm up for Boston 2024.
Oh, come on. That was such a joke. That was never going to happen here.
Tell me more.
Oh my God. We just like to talk and pump our chest. We're getting the Olympics. We're going to get the Olympics. Seriously? And then of course we get the Olympics and we literally crap ourselves and we can't wait to get rid of it. Right? Come on. We're not built for that at all. Right? We don't have enough rooms to keep people, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, this was the point that Chris Dempsey made, right? Like, hey, the amount of investment we would have to make into Boston to make ourselves compatible with the Olympics, money that we would spend, not the Olympic Committee, but the residents of Massachusetts would spend, and for infrastructure that isn't especially helpful to us the rest of the time, right? And that was sort of how the No Boston Olympics movement got sort of spun up. So are you saying you're not thinking Boston 2036?
Never. It's not. The Olympics are never coming to Boston, Massachusetts. Look how long it took to build the Garden, the Boston Garden. Come on. How many people needed to get paid over and over and over again before that happened?
I mean, you know,
I just paid you under the table.
Lake Placid, New York got the Olympics.
What's that?
Lake Placid, New York got the Olympics.
And look how great it worked out. But look, and we're still talking about Lake Placid, right? All of a sudden, that helped their curating remarkably. I mean, we're talking about 40 years later. Boston doesn't need the Olympics any way, shape, or form. Look, I'm just excited that Brookline's got the Open, U.S. Open next year. Those kind of big events. We have World Series here. Let's bring a Super Bowl here someday. That would be fun. And they thought we couldn't even handle a Super Bowl because we don't have enough hotel rooms.
Well, yeah, and that doesn't make any sense to me because, like, the stadium holds 70-something thousand. Surely we could house them, right? I mean,
right? No, but they're talking about
how many people come to the Super Bowl? How many people go to the Super Bowl but don't go to the Super Bowl? Is that a lot of people?
Lots. Oh yeah, it's a huge corporate stuff. But you've heard that argument before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we couldn't handle a freaking Super Bowl, I expected to handle the Olympics.
Well, there's a lot of hotels
here. Do you want them here?
I think that the problem with the Olympics is, or at least was historically, other than Los Angeles, which was a really interesting exception, is the Olympic Committee essentially forces the community to spend all the money for things that the Olympic Committee wants, right? And they end up being bad investments for local money, right?
And there's huge corruption in the Olympic Committee.
Yeah, so I don't have any problem with hosting the Olympics in theory. My problem is spending taxpayer money on a bunch of things that don't benefit our taxpayers. I'm not interested in doing that.
We don't need to do it. Do we need the Olympics?
I mean, do we need the Boston Marathon? We don't need it, but it's fun.
Oh, I don't know. That's a little different. Boston Marathon is, that's Patriots Day, Boston Marathon.
Yeah, no, it's wicked fun. We all have a great time.
That's a tradition like no other. I mean, that's who we are as a community.
And when the Sox, go to the World Series and we've got, 2 or 3 or 4 home games in the World Series, it's a lot better than not having it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but the Olympics is just, that's a down a road we don't need to go down. We don't,
I think you're probably right. I think that the upside ain't that high and the downside can be really troublesome.
Yeah, right. Look how it worked for Sarajevo.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot. I mean, there's a bunch of sort of bad stories. And
look, the Olympic Stadium. If you remember, they didn't know what to do with it, and then the Expos ended up playing there. The worst stadium that I went there to see an Expos game. The worst stadium I've ever been to a baseball game. It was actually dark in the outfield, so you literally would lose sight of the outfield and going to catch a ball.
Yeah, no, I saw a ball game there years and years ago from the Expos. No question, not a great outcome all the way around.
Yeah.
Listen, Scott, great to have you on.
Great to be on. Thank you.
The thing about sports is like 25 minutes goes quick.
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. That's why we do the show for half an hour and just blink and it's done.
Well, listen, Scott, I'm going to remind folks, Grandstanders, Wednesday, 6:30
Yeah.
to 7, Brookline Interactive Group. And it's a hoot. It's a great show worth tuning into. And we're glad you're with us here on Brookline Interactive on my show, TV on TV. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching.
Great. Thanks for having me.